My wife had 2 phones, 2 names, and 2 lives. I found out when she called me by the wrong one. I didn't confront her. I started digging instead. And what I found buried underneath 4 years of our life together, I still don't have words for it. This is a confession I received. The man who sent it asked me to read it exactly as he wrote it.
I need you to understand something before I tell you this story.
I'm not a paranoid person. I'm not controlling. I'm not the kind of man who checks receipts or asks too many questions. If anything, people who know me would say I'm too trusting. My brother Robert always said that about me even before all of this. Turns out, he was right. Sarah and I met 4 years ago at a work conference in Seattle. She was sharp, funny, completely self-possessed. We talked for 3 hours at the hotel bar, and I missed my flight home because I didn't want to stop. 6 months later, she moved in. 18 months after that, I proposed. She said yes without hesitating. I thought that meant something. Our life together looked good from every angle. She worked remotely digital marketing, clients all over the country. That explained the odd hours. The calls she took in the car. The trips that came up last minute. It explained everything, actually. That was by design. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday night in February. Nothing dramatic. Just dinner. She poured herself a glass of wine, looked at me across the table and said, "How was your day, John?" My name is not John. She caught it immediately. Laughed it off. Oh my God, I've been on calls all day. My brain is completely fried. She reached across and touched my hand. I laughed too, but something in my chest didn't. I filed it away. And the next morning, I started paying a different kind of attention. She had 2 phones. I'd always known that. One personal, one for work clients, completely normal for her industry, she'd told me early on. I never questioned it, but now I started noticing which one she reached for. When she was relaxed, laughing, herself, she used the one I knew. When she tensed up, stepped out of the room, lowered her voice, the other one. I said nothing. I just watched. 3 weeks after the John incident, she had a work trip. 2 days in Phoenix, she said. Client presentation. I drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye, came home, and opened my laptop. I searched her full name and the word Phoenix. Nothing came up. I searched her company name. The website existed, looked professional, had her photo. But something felt assembled rather than grown the way a stage set looks real until you step behind it. I searched the company's registration number. It had been incorporated 14 months ago. We'd been together for 4 years. That's when it stopped being a suspicion. I searched her name and a city 2 hours from where we lived. The results loaded. And there she was. Different last name. Different professional profile. Same face. Her name in that profile was Mara Connell, freelance consultant based out of Portland. The profile had been active for over 3 years. I closed the laptop and didn't open it again for 2 days. When she came back from Phoenix, I was at the door, smiling. How did it go? Really well, she said. They loved the pitch. Good, I said. I'm glad. I had made a decision in those 2 days. I wasn't going to react. I was going to know everything before I said a single word. I hired someone, not cheaply and not without hesitation. But I needed facts, not suspicions. 3 weeks later, I had a folder. Inside it, photographs, hotel receipts, a lease agreement. Sarah had been maintaining a second life for at least 2.5 years. Under the name Mara Connell, she had an apartment in Portland, a relationship with a man named Garrett who believed they had been exclusive for over 2 years, a social circle that knew her only as Mara, friends who had met her family. Garrett had no idea she existed as Sarah. I had no idea she existed as Mara. We were both in love with a woman who wasn't entirely real. I read every page of that folder. Then I read it again. I want to tell you I felt rage. And I did somewhere underneath everything else. But what I felt first was something closer to awe. Not admiration, not respect, just the sheer weight of it. The planning, the maintenance, the years of perfect execution. She hadn't slipped once in 4 years. Except for one Tuesday night in February. One name. John. Garrett's middle name, it turned out. She called him that sometimes. One moment of autopilot, 4 years of architecture cracked open. I made 2 calls. The first was to a lawyer. The second was to Garrett. That conversation lasted 40 minutes. He didn't speak for the first 5. I told him everything, sent him the folder. He deserved the same thing I'd wanted, the truth. From someone who had lived inside the same lie. That evening, Sarah came home at 7, set her bag down, smiled at me. I had placed the folder on the kitchen table. Open, first page facing up. She saw it from across the room and went completely still. Then, quietly, "How long have you known?" Not denial, not performance, just that. "Long enough," I said. She sat down. I stayed standing. I could see her starting to assemble an explanation the way she assembled everything. But I held up my hand. "I don't need it," I said. "I've already spoken to a lawyer, and I've already spoken to Garrett." That's when she finally lost control. The composure she'd maintained across 2 cities, 2 names, 2 lives, 4 years of perfect execution broke completely. And I watched it happen without feeling what I expected to feel. Just tired. And strangely, quietly, free. I left that night. Stayed with my brother for a week. Let the lawyers handle the rest. Months later, I still think about the woman at the hotel bar in Seattle who talked for 3 hours and made me miss my flight. I don't know which name she was using that night. Maybe neither. Maybe that was the only version of her that was ever fully real before she decided one life with one person wasn't enough. I used to think deception required hatred, that someone had to hate you to lie to you so completely. But I don't think that anymore. I think some people are capable of loving 2 things at once and simply refusing to choose. The cruelty isn't in the love. The cruelty is in the decision to let someone else pay for your inability to make a choice. And if you're with someone right now who makes you feel like you're never quite seeing the full picture, trust that feeling. Because the picture is never incomplete by accident. Some people don't choose between 2 lives. They just expect you to live inside the lie.